Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 2 for Signalis on the All Nighters Podcast 2. I'm your host, Jack, and with me, your co host, Joel, and once again, our two returning guest stars, Dan and Felix. How's it going, everybody?
Going
good.
Pretty good. We're excited to be here. Excited to be back in the guest slot.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. It's been a month. Well, chronologically, this is going to go on the internet, so you won't see the month difference. But yeah, it's been a minute since we recorded one of these. How do we podcast?
Yeah, overall, it seems like our first episode has done fairly well, and we're hoping to expand on what we covered in the first episode. I've been gone for a month, so I do apologize for the delay. I've been off training at Fort Knox, and it's a good old time. No gold was found, but I did make off with a bunch of bourbons, so that's something.
Hey, that's better than gold.
Honestly,
that's even better than gold, yes.
It's liquid gold.
Yeah, no, it's honestly good that we took a break. I think our first podcast lit the internet on fire. I mean, 3 billion views in like 5 more billion seconds. You know, yeah. I became a multi-millionaire. I'm able to retire. I'm in Tahiti right now. It's pretty crazy.
The time zone difference is crazy.
Yeah. Daniel, what are you doing with your ill-gotten gains? Same with you, Felix.
I'm on a yacht in the South Pacific right now. You know how it is.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. No. Anyway, where we left off. So, we ended off with Adler pushing us down the elevator because he's a total Chad like that.
Damn straight.
Great guy. So now, what we will be covering in this second episode of likely 3 is levels 5 through 8, going to, the end of nowhere. So yeah, I'm excited for this.
I'm so excited too. I love nowhere. It's my favorite location in the game.
It's call cap.
Only gonna have positive things to say in this.
Only podcast. Positive things. Only positive things. Only love in my heart things. For that place.
I know Joel's been raving about Nowhere from Silent Hill 1, so.
Oh, it's great. That's awesome, actually. It's actually. So that location in Silent Hill 1 is the school that you go to. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Give me a second.
Midwich.
It's been a minute since I played Midwich Elementary. Yeah. Midwich is great. That level is super fun. Really cool. In Signalis, it's different. But we'll get there.
In due time.
Yeah.
So since I'm terrible at opening things up, we're just going to jump right into this. Levels 5 through 8. Turns out you survived getting pushed down that elevator shaft by Chadler because you fell on a whole bunch of bodies.
Your body, to be specific.
Your body over and over and over again.
Yeah,
I actually missed that on my playthrough. I didn't actually realize it was your own body.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think on your first playthrough you're supposed to notice that. I don't know. I mean, I think it's been a minute since I've played, but when you go, you have to examine it, and then it tells you that it's a bunch of Elster units, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
but also
I think it pops up with a dialogue box.
Oh yeah, you're right. I looked back at my notes just now, and that's exactly what happened. And I didn't realize that on my first playthrough either. So Felix, don't feel like you're missing out on anything because
it's kind of counterintuitive, right? You get dropped down, you're supposed to go explore after that, right? You're not supposed to try to go back.
I certainly tried. Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I guess. But on your first playthrough, I think it's totally understandable if you missed that. You go forward, you push forward. You're in the mindset of Elster. She's not going to go look back at where she came. She's just going to keep going, Yeah. She's got a promise to fulfill.
Once again, she's going down, 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 like we talked about last episode.
Yep.
So just to kind of set the scene for this area, you end up down in floors 5 through 8. Before I think it's been pretty level across the playing field. The medical ward being the first time you go between 2 different floors back and forth. But this time around, there's 4 floors you have to go between, and a lot of locked doors and maze-like areas that you have to navigate through. This is, I want to say it's a super, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think this section is very lore heavy in particular, but I think it definitely expands on the world building of the characters in the universe quite a bit. And we'll touch more on it in just a second, but you end up at the bottom of the elevator shaft. You see all these Elster units, and at this point, there's a save room across from you. You save, you go about your business, and then you have to take the unsettling steps out into the chasm, which is just this giant open cylinder abyss. And you're like, my first thoughts were like, what's down there? Like, it's so quiet. Like, shouldn't there be like a wind chill or something?
Yeah. Have you guys seen Chernobyl? Like the HBO miniseries?
But I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it reminds me of when they look down into the reactor when it's overheating in the show. Like that was the feeling I got when I was here. Not really deep, incisive, cutting criticism, but it's cool. I love feeling like an ant in a giant nuclear reactor where the man-made horrors beyond my comprehension are going to crush me.
No, I haven't seen the show.
Big recommend. You'll love it, honestly. Great political thriller. Super fun. Actually, Jack, you're gonna really like that because you know some Russian, right? It's
that
big
I do.
into. I mean, it has to be since it's about Chernobyl. It's big into Russian history, so you'll like
interesting.
It.
I do need to watch it. I've been meaning to for a while, but haven't had the chance. Some point we'll get around to it though. But yeah, no, I definitely get that feeling of like there's something at the bottom of this giant chasm. And like that just curiosity like itching in the back of my head, like I know I've gone so far down already. I need to make it to the bottom and see what's down there, Like I can
definitely.
suspect that the mines are down there, like it's been alluded to, but like as to what's in the mines, like it just became a goal in my head. Like I know where I need to go. I need to get there. So, we go about navigating floors 5 through 8. And this, I would say in terms of the game, this is the like least memorable part of the game for me. Like there's some like memorable moments in it, but on my second playthrough, a year after my first, I found so many things that I realized I did not like remember in that moment. Like as I'm navigating around, like there's some things that are cool, like the piano room and it talking about I forget exactly which replicant unit it refers to, but some of the worker like sisterly like close community replicant units like locking themselves in a room and playing a piano song and like annoying the person in the adjacent room. Like I remember kind of those moments, but then as I'm navigating around this level, I forgot about like one section with a secret like floor passage that you go down and you find a replicant unit in there. I think it's a Calibri unit that you find. But like she's freaking out in the corner. And I'm probably getting ahead of myself here, so I don't want to like go too far into it. But do you guys have anything to comment on floors 5 through 8 in terms of like maybe the level design and like the gameplay to it?
So I do agree with you to an extent where this area is, I can't say my least favorite because
nowhere.
But I can say it is the part where the game sort of starts to meld together for me, and not in a bad way. It's like the game sort of has a really strong opening, which is good, That's most schools of level design with games, is that you make your first level last because it's the best level that you want. It's what you're going to hook the player with, and then your gameplay systems will carry you until certain levels or story points happen, right? Signalis is very good for its first.
Yeah.
I would argue quarter, like it is 10 out of 10, perfect. Like you're constantly absorbed in, and then when it gets after a certain thing happens, the fake out ending, it gets back to that like perfect. I'm constantly in. Here, it's a little bit more okay. You're sort of lulled in, and that's part of the point of the game. It's trying to get you into that. You're still a little scared, but you know the world, you know its rules. You're going down. It's simple, right? And then they can rug pull you. It's sort of it's like going up a roller coaster right now. You've started it, the roller coaster. You're very excited. The anticipation was huge, and now you're just sort of building, and like that's okay. Like that's just part of how stories work and general things work, where you're gonna have that anticipation building period, and that's what I think of this level as. It's getting you excited for stuff to come. You're learning things, and there are really cool moments. Like I think this area is the first time you hop into the painting, right? Like you get that first-person painting segment.
I think
beach?
so.
The beach, right? It happens.
Yeah,
to
the
be, right?
shores.
Yeah.
Oh, the shores of
I think so.
Oblivion.
I think
Shores
so.
of-
Yeah.
And I actually do have stuff to say about the shores of Oblivion in a little bit.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's really cool stuff that happens here. It's just it's an anticipation building chapter. It's not like
this is really interesting because I don't know. I had the exact well, not exact, but very opposite opinion to you guys. Where to me, this was my favorite part of the game. This was the part that I remember the best from the entire playthrough. For me, from like a gameplay point of view, not lore, not presentation or anything, but this was the best gameplay the game ever got. It felt like everything was paced so perfectly. The combat was the most balanced here. You got new weapons, but at the end, especially in Nowhere, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but enemy spam kind of becomes ridiculous. But here, it felt.
I will say
The puzzles were
That's
great.
actually true. Yeah, that's true. I actually
Every room
enjoyed
felt
it as well.
so nice just because it was really that low. Like it is building anticipation, but it felt really like you were exploring something that you kind of were beginning to understand, and you never really get that because it does become a series of rug pulls later on. But like this was like, okay, I know what I'm doing, and I got to piece things together. It felt very nice for me, but I can understand why it's very building up rather than releasing. I liked that there was no boss fight here. If I remember, there was no boss.
no
That
boss
was
fight
really
at
nice,
all.
actually.
I do agree with you, Dan, in terms of like the gameplay versus the story. You kind of do feel like I've got the hang of this. You're marching around the place, encountering enemy after enemy, but it doesn't feel like too contrived, like the number that you have to deal with. And you're right, the weapons, like you get introduced to new weapons, so it becomes fun. And I forgot until now, this is also where you start realizing some of the other gameplay mechanics. Like pretty sure this is the floor where you first encounter the enemies that have to do with the radio.
Yeah.
the Colibris, the
The
Oh,
Colibris.
yeah.
cool as hell.
Yeah, dude,
Love that
that
mechanic.
did catch me off guard at first. Like I remember like actually like freezing up as soon as I entered the room, and like the frequency pops up on the screen. But like I missed it. Like it blipped by. I had no idea what I was dealing with, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. I don't know. So this is where I'm gonna get a little, I guess, not controversial, but I think Signalis, the main draw for it is not its gameplay. I think that's pretty. I wouldn't say obvious because I do think the gameplay is well made, but it reminds me a lot of Silent Hill 2, and I think that game plays bad in a good way, but it's not why I play Silent Hill 2. I don't play it to shoot things. I don't play it to like puzzle solve. I play it for atmosphere, story, and again more atmosphere, which Signalis has in spades. So chapters like this, where the gameplay is incredibly competent, I'd even argue that they are better. There's better gameplay here than in Silent Hill 2, but that's probably because we've advanced 20 odd years since then, right? Things just feel better to do. Even if things are perfectly placed, it's not why I'm playing the game.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
Whenever
probably
I
why.
definitely agree with you.
Yeah. It's probably why it feels less memorable to me, even though I would agree. Like, competence-wise, in terms of game design here, the game does peak here. Like, I don't think it's arguable. There's the most amount of options without any of the bullshit that comes later. It's very good.
I think in terms of gameplay, this is a good level. To cover some of the story beats that we do manage to find on this level, you have the scene where you jump down the hole, I think on like floor 6 or 7, and Adler is confronting Isa in the lobby in front of Fox's room. I forget exactly what the altercation is like there, but it's very confrontational. Isa's holding her knife, and Adler's kind of like trying to quell her down to like calm her. but he clearly, we don't trust Adler at this point. He pushes down a freaking elevator shaft. Like, I don't trust this guy. And, that's kind of like the scene we get with them. So I think it kind of like, it mostly serves to add on to the characters. And speaking of building off of characters, I think that's the most story this level does. We actually go to Adler's room and we find his diary and we like see sporadic entries about like him kind of like having sort of like a deja vu moment, but then realizing like he's reliving something in a way and he needs to get to the bottom of it. And so, he's got an artifact vault in his room, kind of like he's coveting it away. And as you progress more around the floors, you're finding files on like, some of the other like slightly like just a step below Adler, like managerial units. Realizing like Adler's like keeping something like withdrawn from everybody else.
Yeah.
And like we're kind of getting a glimpse into who Adler is. And I think this sets up well for like what comes later in the story because, he is like the only like true like character opposition that you get, like any like true like physical antagonist that you see throughout the game. And on top of that too, feel free to chime in at any moment, by the way. But like something else with the files, like you do start to get more and more looks at like how the units like psychology work. Like it starts out in a lot of the unlocked rooms, like kind of like how they hang out. Like, oh, some units require community with each other, so let them socialize frequently. Others need like what they call fetish objects to kind of keep them happy and working in line and like how the Yusan Nation wants people, right? So like keeping conformity in there. But then as you unlock more and more doors, you start finding things that are like redacted or like for your eyes only type of information, where it starts talking about like the bad things that can make a unit deteriorate a lot more quickly. And this is I completely forgot about this segment during this level until my second playthrough. But where you go into one of the dark rooms that you unlock with your flashlight that you just found, and then you find I think that's the Calibri unit who's like sitting there like in the corner in the UV light, reading over files, like realizing like that replicants are just treated as like objects and they're expected to all behave the same way, and she's like in denial about these things. She's like they think they know us so well, but they really don't know us. So I thought that was like a very like interesting way of introducing like more world building stuff, like instead of introducing it in like in a necessarily environmental storytelling way or like just exposition way. I like how they actually introduce it through characters realizing like how they've been affected by the nation.
Definitely.
I mean, it's really important that they do it through characters here because again, a lot of I don't want to put words in like Rose Engine's mouth, but like I think most of this game you can read as a commentary on how culture crushes queerness to an extent and like unique LGBTQ like experience. They flatten it down and then they force it into a homogeny that doesn't work. And then you have people feel like, I mean, I felt this way a little bit too sometimes, where like you got people telling you what you're supposed to be, and you're like, you think you know me so well, but you don't. You don't get it at all. You tell me how to be a specific way. Tell me I can't love a certain person, right? And then, well, you get anger or sadness, and then rebellion.
Definitely.
Yeah,
it's like a whole mix of emotions bottled up in that.
Yeah.
I think this game does a good job of showing like all different like stages of that anger and sadness and
for sure
and
confusion.
definitely, and you can read not to jump too far ahead, but like I'm not a genius, but I've read this. I'm trying to remember who did it. I'll find it in a second. but someone read the whole promise ending to an extent, the looping as rebellion against the system, as a way of warping reality to make uh, a love that wasn't allowed in the totalitarian nation that they exist in exist. They read the whole game as an act of love and rebellion, which is really cool.
Wow.
I don't necessarily see it completely that way, but I do love that read. Let me see if I can find the person who did it. I'm gonna have to scroll through Reddit for a second, guys. I'll BRB.
No worries. Don't worry. I can do some editing work to like kind of.
Oh no. You guys can talk. Don't worry. I'll just find him if I can find him.
Yeah, let's know when you find it. In the meantime, though, let's talk about Fox Room a bit because I kind of feel like there's a bit of a like whimsical. I don't know if whimsical is the right word for it, but like whimsical aura surrounding her. We haven't interacted with her. You go into her room and she's just laying there sleeping, like in a comatose, it seems. But like it just feels so peaceful in her room, and like I kind of get what Adler maybe sees in her, where he's like putting her on a pedestal. Because if you read some files too, the Yusan Nation sees Falk units as they're the head commander, but they resemble a godlike figure and resemble a great revolutionary and her daughter within the story of the lore. She's like the tallest figure in the game that we've seen up to now. And she's definitely authoritarian for sure. And I think, it kind of resembles the Bolshevik Revolution in a way.
I really like that.
Yeah, because reading into the lore now, the Yusan Nation very clearly like came in and did away with the empire, like got rid of the monarchy to the best of their ability, and they're like idolizing certain figures of the revolution to lead the way. So I think in this sci-fi setting where you have like replicants where you can replicate actual people, uh, you know, I think it's a very interesting way of like keeping that revolutionary dream alive with these figures that are so like idolized and seen as like heroic figures within these societies.
And that's really interesting because they don't understand the technology to make replicants.
Yeah.
So they don't even understand. Oh yeah. Keep going, Felix.
I was thinking the same thing. I remember reading something about like them talking about how other technologies had stagnated for like decades compared to the technology for replicants and whatever it was, bioresonance or something.
Bioresonance, yeah. I think it's pretty explicitly stated in the game that they don't understand how that works. It's almost like a miracle that came down to them.
Yeah, definitely. It was so crazy.
Yeah, and Jack, you were talking about how they're keeping this revolutionary spirit alive. Well, it could be talking about how, essentially that revolutionary spirit is no longer understood to an extent, or it changes. And you can see that, like, through your history of, like, the Russian Revolution, where, you'll have people with ideals like Lenin or something like that, who, granted, Lenin had problems. We don't have to get into, like, a history of politics lesson here, but, like, there's a very clear progression of like things changing. There was a whole war fought between the whites and the reds, and then you had Stalin, right? It's that revolutionary spirit. You could still say it's there, but it's not fully understood. It's changed because they don't get what brought behind it, like the technology, in the game.
These replicants also don't like truly understand who they are, because like their minds are selectively wiped to only have the memories that the Empire wants.
Yeah, it's like the selective choosing of how you want people to think, and also not just how they think, but like the memories they have to create a culture. I know last time I talked about Karl von Clausewitz some and the idea of Heimat and culture. I forget which author it is. I think it was he's I want to say it's like Friedrich Engels or something like that. I think that's his name. Or no, it might not be Engels.
Engels funded Marx, if that's who you're talking about.
No, it's not Engels. It's another guy named Friedrich. He's a German guy, former Nazi, like wrote a lot in the 1950s. This is one of those things from my poli-sci classes. Either way, the main point, while his name eludes me, the main point he was getting at is that, culture is something shared, but it takes a people to make up this culture. And while you have people making up this culture, you need like memories of shared understanding and community within, these cultures and places. Because like memory comes from like, say, we'll just use like religion as an example. You have like people going to church and remembering like how they worship, like the prayers they say, the songs they sing together, the things such as that. And even when you're like not with your community, those memories like still keep that culture alive through you. The moment somebody dies is the day a culture dies.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of adds to the idea of like the replicants keeping certain aspects of a culture alive, while other aspects of like the original person that the replicants are based on have been like omitted from the culture.
And I think it's no, I think that's exactly right. Especially considering like the mind wiping aspects that Felix brought up. They're keeping a certain part of the culture alive, not the truth of the culture or whatever. It's technology as a tool to enforce culture.
Exactly.
Another part that I thought was really interesting is the way that they actually make the replicants, where they take the gestalts and then they wipe all like history of who they were, and like anyone that knew them, like all of that is erased to create this replicant so they can use for whatever cause that they want.
Yeah. No, it's definitely some funky business up in this town. But
I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah.
Daniel, good of you to speak up.
Perfect.
I actually have a question for you, Daniel. I know
sure,
you read a lot, big English major guy. Can you talk a bit about like the Orwellian nature of this world?
The Orwellian nature. I'm not a big George Orwell fan. I could maybe talk to you about Huxley. If you know what Brave New World is.
Oh my god, Aldous
please,
Huxley.
Please indulge. Just give us something, please. I'm curious to see what you're thinking about this entire segment.
Well, this really is kind of maybe going way bigger picture than we're trying to do right now. But something that always has interested me is kind of the human life that we see later on Rotfront, and just that we don't see on the other planets in this game. We're only ever exposed to the replicant point of view, or through Ariane, what I would assume is a either lower like governmental kind of civic worker point of view, or maybe a lower middle class point of view. But we never get to see, and I definitely think this is intentional, but whoever is benefiting off of the current system that the world kind of operates under. I think that this whole idea of the replicants being the main labor force and the main kind of physical use for everything, while humans are just really pencil pushers in the mine itself, kind of suggests that replicants aren't really used for kind of white collar jobs we would assume now. And perhaps that's a huge reach, perhaps they are. But I don't remember seeing any replicants in Rotfront, right? I mean, do you guys, like, in Rotfront, were any of those stores, which is presumably a middle-class neighborhood, were any of them, like, featured replicants at all?
I don't remember, but I could
Not
push
that I
back
can
on that
say.
with Falk being a character in and of herself. She's a replicant, and she's same with Adler. Adler's a replicant, and he's designed to be an administrator.
Yeah, but then administrator at the prison complex. They are, just the same as every other replicant there. I don't think there's any vertical or even lateral mobility for them. They are kind of condemned to be on this
100%.
forever. And I was maybe a doomer. I just took it as the extent of their administration would always be places like that, would always be kind of prisons or military systems, because it seems definitely what Falca was intended for. Adler, I don't know. I could see Adler in more of a government civic administrative position. But I like
could see him as an accountant.
The idea.
I don't see when it comes to Adler, he's just such an oddball case. I feel like everybody else feels like they're part of the system, but they all kind of have their niche part of the cog wheel to make the engine run.
Yeah, no,
Whereas,
I think.
but with Adler, he just. Oh, please.
No, go.
Oh, I was just gonna say with Adler, he's kind of like he feels like a direct counterpart to Falk. Like almost, he's too dependent to not, rely on Falk in the way he does, if that makes sense.
No, you're completely right here, and I think Dan's right too with the doomeristic reading of it, because they're all engineered to sort of work together in this prison labor camp, essentially, right? They're not allowed any vertical or lateral mobility, as he said. Like, I completely agree there. I guess the only pushback I would have is that I don't think humans get the white collar jobs per se either, because they're not called humans in the setting. They're called gestalts, part of a collective whole, and they're sent off. Like, you get people like Ariana, who's sent off on the Penrose because, well, I think it's largely implied because she's a lesbian or because she reads books. Both of those things would imply to me that she's reading books, which is a move of, I guess, culture or intelligence or art, right? You could also see that as trying to rise above station, right? And then she gets booted out and away. I don't know. I definitely agree with the majority of the reading, though. I don't think you're wrong. I think you're right. I just think it's bad for humans too. There's a select ruling class that is benefiting, and everyone else is kind of suffering.
I just love the idea of the replicants being like the proletariat class, and that humans who are in some way, I don't want to use the term defective, although I certainly think that the government of the world would use that term, are kind of condemned to join them and to become kind of that invisible proletariat that's kept out of sight of the bourgeois.
No, I think that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna shift gears a bit, moving further into the level. We've talked about Falk a bit, we've talked about Adler some, and the expansion of characters and what happened, how replicants came to be and how they
real quick.
are. Oh, please.
Before I forget, one found the guy with the reading. His name, he's on Reddit. His name is Ray Dog. Raydaug. Good for you, Ray. You have a great theory, not theory, reading of the game. And two, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Adler designed in his document to be the perfect prison warden to an extent for all these people? He knows how they all work.
Ooh, I don't remember the document.
I don't remember specifically hearing a prison warden, but I think in the subtext
it's not in the document.
I'm pretty sure it's
but
there.
I'm extrapolating here, but I'm pretty sure Adler units know how to manage all of the ones underneath, and they have the Falk unit so that they don't go above. They're dependent on the Falk unit, but then they're the perfect prison warden for everyone underneath.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, actually. I can see that.
Just harping more on the no mobility. They are designed to, keep each other in line and labor pyramid.
Definitely.
For sure. But yeah. As I was saying, going forward, you go around the level some, and you walk into the piano room, and I think this is a part of the game, where another first-person aspect it gets introduced. But I do like how in this save room there is the piano there, and if you walk up to it with Elster and click it, I love how she says a grand piano. I wish I knew how to play it. It just feels like one of those moments where she actually thinks about something for herself. There's not. I can't name many moments, if any, probably just on one hand, where she thinks for herself, especially pre fake out ending. But this just feels so different in its tone, and I really appreciate it.
No, I love that. I think it's really. It's the first time that you see that Elster really has a personality, at least in my opinion. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I think her personality really shines through in the second half after the fake out ending and all that.
Definitely.
But
Absolutely.
here is where you can start to see maybe it's the original Gestalt personality shining through with Elster, or maybe it's just herself after so many loops. Whatever it is, you can see like that humanity, and I think it's really important. And I'm glad you pointed that out because I honestly forgot about it. So
Yeah, it's like such a small detail that you can so easily miss, but like it adds like some substance to the game for Elster. Like kind of like this quiet character that like you're just like navigating through
yeah,
until like the second half of the game where things come together. But yeah, no, I found that very interesting. And then like I said, the bigger picture here for this segment, it is in this room on floor 7 that we come across our first real life portrait, the Isle of the Dead. Elster says somehow it feels very familiar. Uh, let's see here. When it comes, I don't know if necessarily we're in Isle of the Dead from a first person perspective at this point, but I want to talk about some paintings real quick because this comes into like I think one of the bigger themes here. And I think it's also in the segment of the game that you go to the shores of Oblivion. Uh, these two paintings, do you guys know anything about them?
not much.
I know about the different versions, which I think is very interesting if you consider the idea of characters being different versions of themselves. But I've got the feeling that you know a lot about them, Jack. So I'd like to hear from you.
Well,
Yeah.
I did not have that perspective to do with the game, but I did write some notes, so I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent about them and maybe one other painting that has to do with these paintings. So,
Oh, yeah.
the Shores of Oblivion and the Isle of Dead, just keep in mind, I'm just kind of reading from my notes here and spitballing. But Shores of Oblivion and Isle of the Dead are often correlated and seen as German symbolism. The Shores of Oblivion reportedly had 8 renditions made from it. Eugen Brock was the one who made the Shores of Oblivion, and Boecklin made Isle of the Dead. They did not necessarily create their works for the other, but Germans imagined their Orientalist works together. Kaiser Wilhelm II hung these two paintings next to each other, and this was replicated outside of the gold speared lady's room. Sorry, I forgot Falk's name at the time, but if you go like up to like the lobby right before Falk's room, you can actually see the two paintings like next to each other. Like they're kind of pixelated, so it's kind of hard to tell unless you know what you're looking for. But this kind of mimics like Kaiser Wilhelm II's idea of German symbolism and these two pieces of art as German works of art. Let's see here. From Wikipedia, good old Wikipedia, it says in painting, symbolism in terms of the Germanic art period was a fantastic and dreamlike style that emerged as a reaction to the naturalism of the realist painting and impressionist trends, whose objectivity and detailed description of reality were opposed by subjectivity and the depiction of the occult and the irrational, as opposed to representation, evocation, or suggestion. Just as in poetry, the rhythm of words served to express a transcendent meaning, in painting they sought ways for color and line to express ideas. I just, I really find these paintings interesting. Like, I'm kind of obsessed with them in all reality. Like, I think thematically it works well with the game. You know, it's a very Germanic game. The ideas of German identity and a lot of authoritarianism. But I'm pretty sure, I mean, I could be mistaken, but these paintings were kind of in that interwar period, or
Yeah.
maybe even before World War One. Uh, Oh, hang on, my girlfriend's trying to tell me something outside. What was it, babe? Oh, Hitler might have had one at some point. Thanks, Rachel. She's right here with me. Yeah, Isle of the Dead.
I have
German house.
the Isle of the Dead in
Okay,
my
yeah.
room on the wall, funnily enough. Not the real thing. A printing from CBS for,
No,
15
I
bucks.
think you stole the real thing from a museum.
Real thing, yeah. I got deep
Yeah,
pockets.
Career criminal
it's at
Daniel.
the Met, right? Yeah, going back to these paintings. Yeah, my girlfriend was saying that Hitler had it at one point, and it's in. I think it was in some German households, according to Rachel. But yeah, going forward, I think these paintings work well within the themes of the game, and also like some of the first person segments. Like, there's no way, like so far we've gotten kind of like memory segments, but the moments you end up on like Shores of Oblivion and in the Isle of Dead, like they're just moments that like for fact like this is not a real sequence that could have been lived. but you're seeing it. And when it comes to the Shores of Oblivion, like walking around, it looks like snow at first, but I love how the game, like, as you further like walk up, you find like skulls on the ground in the sand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Like it's almost turned like nihilistic for this painting, which already looks like bleak and oppressive based on like the very cold looking beach and the icy looking rocks that protrude from the background. But yeah, and also while I'm on a painting tangent, I'm sorry, I'll let you guys speak in a second, but I did not know this painting was in the game until I did some research on like the different endings. I found this one when like researching how to get the artifact ending, which requires like some, in my opinion, like very like arbitrary um points to use your radio on. But
Yeah.
Saturn Devouring His Son by Francisco Goya is in this game.
Yeah.
I had never seen this painting before, but the moment I pulled a photo up on the internet, I was immediately perturbed.
Yeah,
What
it's
is
part of
the
his
painting?
black paintings, which were never
Yeah.
named, which is really important, I think. The fact that, and furthermore, they were hidden. He painted them in his walls and then he stuccoed over them. They would have, I think actually, some of them got damaged because someone bought his house and was renovating, and there was a chance that they could have been completely, like, either A, lost to history, or B, destroyed in renovation. They carefully removed the wall afterwards. But yeah, black
Absolutely.
paintings.
Just the use of art in this game is so like it's just so like unique and gripping in a way that I've never seen done before in a game. Like I can't name another game. It's probably out there, but I cannot name another game that uses like real life art pieces from different artists to portray a theme and kind of like shared understanding and idea in the game. It just I would love to ask the developers if I could, like, what like led them to like putting these things in their game? Like, what influenced you and impressed you?
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with the idea of replication and culture replication to an extent. I mean, the Isle of the Dead, correct me if I'm wrong, you said it was 8, right? 8 different versions?
8 different versions. And actually you can see 8 different versions within the game.
Wow, I never knew you could see all 8 different versions. That's very cool.
Well, I don't know if it's all 8 different versions. I'm pretty sure there's one that was made by the developer, but there are different versions as you play the game.
Yeah.
But that idea of this original artifact being replicated, its meaning changing, but still being the same. It's the same idea. It's the same gestalt, an image more than the sum of its parts, I believe is the term in psychology for gestalt, right? Let me look this up. Yeah, an organized whole that is perceived as more than the sum of its parts. So you get this idea of the Isle of the Dead, the coldness, the replication, the endless dead, the thousands and thousands and thousands of skulls that turned into small bone flakes that make up the beach, that you walk on. You can walk in it. But the sum of its parts are just only 8 paintings, right? But you get this huge thing out of it. It's like the game. Each reference it takes, it's a small reference, but it builds to this big gestalt that is entirely unique, unless your name is nowhere, but
we'll get there.
Very
guys,
soon we'll get
funny?
there.
You know, it'd be funny if we didn't get there, if we just skipped it.
It's just redacted. This scene left blank intentionally.
No. Just like Signalis, we redact important information, like my opinions on nowhere.
My mind cannot comprehend this segment of the game.
This space intentionally left blank. Oh my god, that would be so peak. Those two, not to jump ahead, by the way, but that fucked with me for months. Whenever they would do this space intentionally left blank in Signalis, I tried to figure out what that meant over and over and over again. I've sort of decided that I can't. It's like Cyclonopedia. There's just I'm too stupid.
Joel, could you say that it possibly kept you up all night?
More than all night. It kept me up all day and all night for forever. Always and forever.
Oh man, dude. That whole
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
No, I've lost my train of thought. You go ahead, Dan.
Just going back to that idea of replication, and I think it was a Joel who said cultural replication.
Yeah.
Just the idea that this empire, or remains of an empire, or anti-empire force, whatever we are in now, which is presumably in the future, where it's very left vague, but presumably pretty far in the future, with the technology they have, despite its kind of retro '70s alien aesthetic, with spaceship and light travel and bioresonance, we can assume it's pretty far. Is just how desperately it kind of tries to mimic that mid 19th or late 19th, early 20th century European culture with European art, European music, Swan Lake, just the whole idea of a culture that's really just kind of a very diluted replication of another culture, and whose technology is also a replication of another culture's. I just think it's really interesting that this universe doesn't really stand on its own. It's kind of made up of what came before it in a way, well, very much like our own, obviously, but very interesting for a sci-fi game.
Yeah, well, good sci-fi stories are kind of like that, though, to an extent. Like every sci-fi story that I've read that I really have like resonated with, like you can look for what's the Ray Bradbury short story about the rocket ship? Is it just called The Rocket Ship?
That'll be a classic Bradbury name if it is.
Yeah, it's pretty good, but like it can't exist without the idea of like the depression.
Anyway, so as we were saying, going back into the game, level design wise, you navigate through some of the floors. You get to the library, and here you extract the King in Yellow tome and find it inside the astrolabe that Adler has in his room, I think.
Which, by the way, is one of the
Yellow.
best soundtracks in the game. The whole Orrery, Astrolab, Adler Room soundtrack.
Oh, I do love these music segments.
So good.
Honestly, wait, there's a song in here somewhere that I want to know, like, what song was playing. It might have had something to do with, like, when you're in the radio room and you start trying to play over the broadcast. Anyway, I digress. So you get the King of Yellow, and it's just interesting how, like, it makes a return. Of course, I don't know much about the King of Yellow. I know others are more well-versed in it, but it's just, like, clearly one of those symbolism pieces from the beginning of the game sequence that sticks with you. So it's interesting to see it, like, reappear. I don't know if there's any significance to it in this moment. Any comments on that?
Significance to what? The King in Yellow? Or
Yeah, like as to why it's
why
here.
I think Joel's been waiting to hear that. Hold on.
No. Okay, so like technically, why it's here? No, like where you pick it up from the library. I wouldn't say there's like a significant thing to it. I think it's more significant that it's just showing up all the time in the story.
Yeah.
Like the start of the game here shows up at a different point. I think it's on Adler's desk in the second loop. I'm not positive though. It shows up a lot. That's the point. And again, to refresher for the listener, King Yellow is a play, a fictional play in the story written by who wrote King? Give me a second. You guys can talk real quick.
Was it Lovecraft?
It's Robert W. Chambers who wrote The King in Yellow. It's a book of short stories originally, but it's about a play, or it shows up in different forms, but it's something, an art form that drives someone insane. It's usually a play. It's about a kingdom, Carcosa, king and queen, and its eventual fall, and this person who goes to a masquerade ball, and there's a very famous line in there where it's like everybody's taking off their masks. They point to this guy who's got this freaky looking mask, and they're like, take off your mask, and he's like, my lady, I have no mask. Dun dun dun, and then they all go insane and die.
A classic. I love when that happens.
It's crazy. But there's a lot of different stories in King in Yellow. They're usually macabre, and they usually end with people killing themselves or doing something pretty bad in general.
Yeah.
Am I doing okay here with summarizing the book? Or
I think you've done a phenomenal job.
Our listeners are incredibly happy.
The viewer rate's going up.
But essentially, the King in Yellow gets adopted into the Lovecraftian mythos later on, and sometimes people will even refer to the King in Yellow as Nyarlathotep later. It's not originally what it is, and I don't think Signalis is going for that, but largely the King in Yellow can be seen as a symbol of madness and a symbol of an art form that cannot be finished. A spiral to an extent, like a loop, where you get through the play, but you never really get through the play. You end up dying or performing it yourself in the real world. There's one short story. Which one is it? Sorry, I've got it pulled up. I swear there was one. Maybe it's a different King in Yellow story that I'm thinking of, but I'm pretty certain they have a story, maybe not in that collection, but another collection of short stories with the King in Yellow, where a playwright finds the play, tries to put it on, and then everyone ends up acting it out and then killing themselves by the end. Leaking out. So yeah, cool stuff. And you can see immediately how that sort of ties into Signalis. Elster is doing something in a loop that is ultimately self-destructive to her. Like, by the end of the true ending, pretty much regardless of every ending, unless you get the artifact ending, Elster is dead in some way. You know? Not to get too far ahead, spoiler-wise. But...
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and like to bookend the story, it started immediately with the King in Yellow being there. It's almost like a cosmic joke is being played on Elster, like this thing beyond her comprehension and understanding is watching her, which could be Ariane, honestly, because Ariane has the bioresonance and stuff like that, the red eye over Rockfront.
Ooh, or some kind of like divine, like comedy and tragedy kind of thing, like the red eye of Rockfront.
Yeah. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but the red eye, I'm sorry, I'm the one who's getting ahead. But the red eye is a natural phenomenon that gets divine significance put onto it because of the ideas of bioresonance and stuff like that. It is, and that's why people actually have put Rockfront on Jupiter because of the storm, the red eye. You know,
yeah, the red spot. Yeah.
It's also a very, very mediocre horror movie from 2005 with Cillian Murphy.
Wait, no way. Tell us about that one.
Okay.
Please expand.
How do you kill someone with Cillian Murphy? The answer is you have to get a good Triple X. What's the best Triple X? Disco Pigs, 2002. Irish radio player Edna Walsh adapted into a movie with only Irish actors and Cillian Murphy. He's the only star, but you need a good first movie that no one knows about. So you go Red Eye or The Wind That Shakes the Barley or Girl with a Pearl Earring. If you haven't played Sinead Nerdle, if you're listening to this and you haven't played Sinead Nerdle, and you know you're listening to this driving on your way to work or whatever, slam your wheel into the oncoming traffic because you haven't lived.
Damn! Why don't we just recommend them to like stop traffic, pull up their phone, and pull up Sinead Nerdle instead? They can be corrected.
Then they might beat me. Then they might get higher elo than me. I can't have that. I got to take out the competition.
No, they won't. No, they won't. You want to know why? Because they don't know the tech. They don't know the Holmes and Watson trap tech.
It's a very bad cinema trivia game that I got very addicted to. Top 300 in the world, by the way. But,
Top 300.
Wow, impressive.
Congratulations.
To any listener who is playing Sinead Nerdle, if you match up against somebody called the Dan Shan dude, please do not get put in Cillian Murphy.
Called the Dan Shan dude. I believe his name is Boss Baby for Life.
I love
Boss Baby for Life. Also, do not submit Despicable Me, or at least know who the cast is, because he might try and Dr. Nefario you.
Played by Russell Crowe, of course.
Not
who doesn't
Crowe,
know
Brand.
that?
It's Russell Brand.
Brand, the Russell. No, isn't it Russell Crowe?
No, Russell Brand's the insane anti-vaxxer who play. I'm pretty certain. Let's pull up movies of Russell Brand.
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
Yep,
Russell
I'm
Brand.
right.
It's Russell Brand.
Right. You can get him.
That explains why he's not the fourth one. As a rare person who's actually seen Despicable Me 4, he's not in it, and I wondered why, but it is because he did get done in for sexually harassing minors, etc. Interesting.
My favorite. Sorry, we gotta keep it off topic.
Guys.
Yeah, having derailed
no,
this
we gotta
conversation.
Keep it off one more time because I want to say my favorite trap that you've ever hit somebody with. What was it? Freddy got fingered into what? Green room?
The green room.
What?
I hate Freddy Got Fingered. Dude. What a garbage movie. Oh my god. But anyway, Signalis. We'll cut this all
Signalis
out.
coming back.
We can cut out the C2 Nerdle stuff, but
It's good. It's all good.
Honestly, it's good content.
All good content. Going back, having gone on this giant side quest, that's pretty much it for floors 5 through 8. You read Adler's diary, and then from there you get the key to descend into the mines. From there, we've. Oh, please.
Go ahead. No, the mines might be my favorite mini segment of the entire game. I love the mines so much.
It's
Interesting.
I actually love the environment of it, and I'll explain why in a second. But anyway, we open up with a cutscene going down the elevator. This is the first true second chapter to the game, so it's called. So Liminali Thought Chapter 2 pops up. And the cutscene we're greeted with is Adler hunting Isa down in the mines as she's hiding. He says he's done this countless times before, and then just like the Chad, Chandler gets stabbed by Isa in the eye, and he falls into the hole in the mines. From there, we're back in control of Elster, and we step out into the mines. Now, I just want to start and say, I love how the mines feel like the Giant's Causeway. The
good reference.
type of rocks.
Yeah.
A good old Ireland reference. No, it's just like the geometric shapes are just so cool.
Definitely. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
And
it looks quite insane, honestly.
It does. And I've yet to make it to the Giant's Causeway one day. I do want to go sometime, but like just seeing all these like different rocks protruding out, it's just amazing how like this is the mines that you're in. Like you expect it just to be like a bunch of hollowed out rock, but it almost feels like just different plates have been like chipped away and like taken off.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now I hate to bring down the reference with something a little bit less cool and a little bit more Hideo Kojima, but like I was like, man, I'm in Death Stranding. I love Death Stranding. It's so good to be back.
It's like home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just had this thought as soon as I remembered what the rocks look like. The Plate of Eternity is the only plate we have at this point.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about it, do you think these plates were actually found in the mine somehow? Because like they could have just been embedded in the rock. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I never noticed that. That's so clever.
I was
They're
actually
the same shape in rock.
I was gonna point that out too, right? I don't know if the plates were. It's hard to say because I don't know if the plates are necessarily real. I don't know. It's hard to like.
They may or may not be, but like it's interesting how it's all the same.
No. You were completely right there. Like 100%. It is all the same, right? And it's the ideas of like memories converging with fiction and dreams, right? Maybe if you're in this mining colony, you've seen those shapes over and over and over again because that's how you mine out the rock for some reason. You mine them into those plate-like shapes. And maybe that's why it's converging like that. The plates of eternity look like that because of the shared consciousness of the people in it.
This might be common knowledge, and I could just be forgetting something really, really obvious. But do we know what the mines for? Do we know what it's?
I don't know what they're actually looking for.
I don't think so.
Mines.
I
just assumed resources of some sort.
Yeah, me too. But now, like, I'm trying to think to myself, in case there's any kind of big story connection or something. But if it's not said, then that's probably very intentional. But I could just be forgetting.
I can't actually think of any moment where the game talks about like, what they're looking for at the Sierpinski. I just, they always talks about like the penitentiary side of it, but like never actually like what is gotten out of this.
Yeah, I just would guess metal.
Again,
but
I think it's just metal.
Maybe some kind of like natural resource of some sort. I don't know, but like I guess once again this is a case of we're not really concerned with like the perspective and benefits of the people at the top. Like we're more concerned with like the workers, the proletariat, if you will.
True.
Yeah. But no, I just that whole Giant's Causeway thing just spurred that thought. But yeah, so this is like a little mini section. There's not much. It's very creepy environment, and you do actually what is it? The save room has Alina's third diary entry, where she says she can't find Elster, and she also describes the horror of seeing the guards. We've encountered all this stuff already, but typically I would imagine the mines to be claustrophobic. But this actually feels like way too spacious, like so spacious to the point where like you can miss out on the Mina unit bleeding out.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for the Mina unit bleeding out.
Honestly,
by the way,
that was
the acceptance of her fate and stuff like that. That shit is
I
so
love her.
depressing. I feel so bad for her. I've wanted to give her a hug when I was like, done with all that her dialogue.
I love her so much. But yeah, no, it's like what is it? Like it's very like open, which I just think is interesting. Like I said, usually it would be claustrophobic and more like suffocating to play through this section, but it's not. It almost feels like kind of peaceful until you take the elevator ramp down and like go into the darker to encounter like more like infected. But there was one section. I don't know if you guys like went into this section, but there's like a corner of the map where there was like a barbed wire segment, and I think there might have been a note there. I missed it on my second playthrough. Like I locked myself too far into the game to go back to this moment. Was there like any notes in this section besides Alina's diary? I can't remember.
In the mine or where?
In the mine.
I don't remember anything else from the mines actually.
I was really worried.
It might have just been a resource.
But yeah, I don't know.
I'll look it up, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, it might have just been a resource in a corner with like a creepy room. I can't remember. Or it might have also been like somebody who was bleeding out. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been 2 years since I've made it to this section.
Yeah, there's the Mina bleeding out, and then there's the Alina diary.
The other two.
I'm reading through a walkthrough right now, trying to see.
There was also like a barbed wire section or whatever the nanowire was.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to remember. I remember that room, and that's the room I missed.
There was one dead replicant, and then one that was also like still alive. But I don't remember.
Oh, and she was crying. She was basically crying over the body.
Yeah, she was crying over the body, I think.
I forgot. Yeah, that's the room I missed. That's exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but then I don't remember. I remember talking to them, but I don't remember what they were talking about.
It was probably a grief segment.
Yeah, something like that.
If I had to guess, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, probably.
It can't be anything good.
It's never anything good in Signalis.
No, there's never anything uplifting at all.
Well, that's not true, actually. After the fake out ending, you get something really sweet for like 5 seconds, and then you get dropped right back into hell.
Oh boy.
That's true. Actually, that's true. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
When you drop down through the mine after the most visually arresting area in the game, in my opinion, I love the way this area looks. Partially because I'm a big fan. Well, one, now I get to know what it's not called other than Death Stranding, the Giant's Causeway. Love the Giant's Causeway. Now I know. Now I know. Now I don't seem like a. Now I seem less like a gamer freak. Like I can say, oh, I love the Giant's Causeway instead of, man, I love Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima's a genius. Thank you, Kojimbo. Thank you so much. Anyway.
Yeah. So you what is it? There's that one room with like the Mina unit and like I think there's like 2 like enforcer units like with shields like chasing you around. You jump into like the lock or like the hatch or whatever. And the room with I'm reading my notes here. I don't know what I was writing here. The room with X's music is so industrial and sinister. I can't remember what I was saying. The industrial music and like the engines and things like that. Oh wait, were there X's on the ground here and there? They might have just been mining spots. I think there were. I don't know what I was getting at with this moment. Maybe I was being too profound. Anyway, you you go further in and finally make it to that one place where he's a stab Chandler in the face, and so there's a hole, and you jump down once again.
And you're back on the beach.
There's a hole. There's a hole.
Back on the beach.
Yeah, and
there's a leaf on a twig, on a twig, on a branch, on a branch, on a log, on a hole at the bottom of the sea.
What happens the second? What happens this time that you go to the beach?
So
you get to walk around some.
You get to walk around, and most importantly, guess what's back? Guess what's back?
Oh, the
king in yellow.
The king in yellow. Oh wait, there's also notes on the
yeah.
ground, corrupted notes.
Yes,
Yeah,
there are notes.
There's notes.
And the notes
there's
are
no
coded.
notes in the first one, right?
I don't think there are
No, I
notes
don't
in the
think so.
first-
First time you're there.
Yeah.
Mm.
One of the versions of the Shores of Oblivion has a bunch of notes as you're walking down the beach, and then you come across the skulls that you think is snow, and then the king in yellow.
Yep.
That's this
I
time.
think that's this one. I'm not positive.
I think so. Oh yeah, wait, I wrote it right here. The cutscene happens, and you see a side profile of a red-haired woman in a uniform. You cut to a first-person section, and you are now on the Shores of Oblivion. Let's see here. You find the note on the beach reading, "The night where black stars rise and strange moons circle through the skies, but stranger still." I wrote a couple notes here. I'm just going to kind of like rattle them off. Along the shores, the cloud waves break. The twin suns sink. Redacted. The shade. Redacted. The shadows lengthen. I wrote, "This crimson atmosphere does wonders to make things look bleak and sinister." Lots of half-cut notes describing death and body and spirit. And then, talking about the red eye of Rotfront. And then it goes, "It calls me in a sea of flesh. We will become one, but I can never go back to being me."
Parts of that are from the King in Yellow, or the Casilda's song. It's along the shore, the cloud waves break, the twin suns sink behind the lake, the shadows lengthen in Carcosa. Strange in the night where black stars rise, and strange moons circle through the skies, but stranger still is lost Carcosa. More King in Yellow
Wait,
shit.
those were all notes from that book?
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, I knew nothing about this book, so it's had no significance on me, and now I'm like hearing all this stuff about it, and I'm realizing how much like I have yet to realize.
But
Just crazy.
the King in Yellow is some brain rot that you can follow pretty simply, easily with this game. Not as bad as the Shining Carpet, though. You guys have noticed the Shining Carpet, right? In this game.
Yeah.
Oh,
why
yeah,
is it here? I don't know why it's here. Other than just to make me think about it being the Shining Carpet.
Shapes.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that segment happens, and we got to look at the side profile of somebody important to us. And she's dressed up in a Yusan Nation uniform. So now that we've had this whole cutscene segment, we're here, guys. We made it.
Oh my god!
The best section of the entire game.
This scene intentionally left blank.
Gaming. Oh my god. This was crazy. Oh my lord.
All right,
we made it.
I'm not gonna speak on this first. What do you guys think of Nowhere?
Well, first off, Jack, have you also not played Silent Hill 1?
Okay, so
me and Felix haven't played or even touched Silent Hill as a franchise, but you also have played Silent Hill 1, right?
So actually, funny enough, I've been listening to the Silent Hill 2 soundtrack, and since I've gotten home 2 nights ago, I actually just started Silent Hill 1.
Okay.
And then I put it down because I was tired. No, I haven't gotten to Midwich. I've only gotten to the opening segment of the game where you have your first save in the cafe.
Oh, not bad.
So as someone who hasn't played either Silent Hill, loading into this area, my first thought was, "Oh my god, it's a Dead by Daylight reference." But I don't know.
God.
This is the area. I don't want to talk about influences yet because I think it's going to be a very big discussion in probably 5 minutes. But this is the part of the game that felt the most forced, I guess. The hand felt a little bit too played. There were too many puzzles that felt very vague. I mean, it had one of my favorite puzzles with the radio, but the constant, like the hexagonal plates and the ring puzzle, etc., the nesting doll puzzle, things that were just very much go to area B and do this thing. The enemies became much more spammed everywhere, and it lost a lot of the atmosphere. which I really, really loved of the earlier two areas. But I still enjoyed Nowhere. It was, if the rest of the game was like a 10 for me, this was like a 7. I still had fun.
I agree. I had to play through it twice, or not the entire thing, because a little mishap with the false ending. But I didn't.
Somebody forgot to say.
I didn't think it was too bad. Like, the puzzles were like fine, and yeah, there was a few parts where the combat was a bit tricky, but nothing
I'd
terrible.
say for me, for somebody who had never played a Silent Hill game on their first playthrough, I will say Nowhere felt a little forced for sure. It was nothing terrible, I agree, and I think it was in a solid spot. I think it was kind of out of left field, but I still mostly enjoyed the puzzles, and I think some of them did kind of give a little significance to the game. One thing I've been saving for this whole moment since the hospital segment, and I only just realized this on my second playthrough, the photographic eye turns out. The microphone segments in this game with like the red eye of Rotfront on the TV screens behind it, where it's like you have to put in like the frequency and like the icon will like start doing like a little like symbol to show you which code to punch in.
Yeah.
You can actually circumnavigate that if you don't take any pictures on the photographic eye. It's actually got all the answers saved.
Oh,
really? Wait,
what the hell?
What
That's
has
so
all
cool.
What has all the saved?
Yeah, so like on the photographic eye that you find in the med bay, if you don't take any photos on it, like if you just pull like straight up like what photos it has saved in its memory, like you get 6 photos, right? There's 6 codes to punch in. It actually has the like answers for it like saved into the photographic eye. So like you just have to pull like up the photographic eye, go to the photo, and then you'll be like, oh, it's the infinity sign, and it shows like the solution to it on like the photo.
This game is so peak.
That's
really cool.
I didn't know that on my first playthrough. I just randomly stumbled upon it when I like try to use the photographic eye for the dreaded keycard puzzle in the med bay. I accidentally clicked the wrong button to go to the saved memory, and I stumbled upon that. And I was like, wait, it's here?
That's so cool.
So just a fun little fact.
Yeah, that's not just fun, that's super useful too. Awesome. Cool.
Oh yeah. But yeah, going into wait, Joel, we've all explained our thoughts on Nowhere.
Okay, let me preface this with saying I think largely that the developers of this game are like amazing writers, game designers, supremely talented, better than me. Like, I couldn't hope to make anything like this, you know. With that being said, this should have been cut from the game, like, entirely. I hate this area. I hate everything about it, aside from one puzzle, which is okay, which is the ring puzzle on the Empress, because I think that is really cool, good world building.
That was cool.
I love that.
I like that part.
Everything else in this area. I'm getting mad at the game because of the area. Everything else in this area sucks. I hate it so much. The cage, mini boss fight that you want to say before you get
yeah.
I hated that. It didn't really feel like anything other than like, oh, what if we made a sort of kind of weird reference to. It almost looked like if you mash the abstract daddy with the
Flesh lips.
With flesh lips, yeah, from SH2.
SH2.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, alright, I guess it's kind of creepy, but like for a game that is so intelligent with every single reference it does, be it classical art, be it Evangelion, be it Ghost in the Shell, be it mostly like Silent Hill 2, like waking up in the bathroom and stuff like that. This feels like an amateur like attempt. It feels like something like, you know, if you're first making a game, you'd just be like, oh man, I really like Silent Hill. I'm gonna throw Midwich Elementary in my game. You know, it feels very amateurish, and that is something I should never be saying with Signalis, because of how
well thought out.
Not even professional, but like almost transcendental the whole experience is for the rest of it. The fact that you have this in it brings everything else down. Not even accounting for the enemy spam, the fact that it's super confusing, the annoying ass mazes, by the way. I fucking hate those microfiles.
Were there 3 of those? There was 3 separate barbed wire maze rooms, and one of them they spam enemies in. It was oh my god.
Like, it didn't make me tense, it made me angry,
No, there was 2.
and I dropped the game for like a week after this because I was like, this is not Silent Hill 1. It's not even as good as Silent Hill 1. And I'm glad I stuck with it because I love this game. Everything else is like a 10 out of 10, but here is like, it's not even like bad enough to be like, oh, fuck this game, you know? It's like, it's a 6 out of 10, in my opinion. But like, the fact that it's there in this perfect experience makes me mad, you know? That's my take on it.
If I can just
and that's warranted.
A quick touch on that boss fight. If I could just talk about that boss fight real quick. As someone who I think in the last episode I said I used almost all the ammo I got in areas 5 through 8 because I did not like run past enemies because I was dumb, you know. I took things one-on-one. I went into that fight against that big cage thing with 2 bullets and 1 shotgun blast, which meant I had to wait for the girl to wake up and shoot it, which took I think 3 real-world minutes of running around 2 pillars while it screamed. And there's no way for me to like prevent that from happening. I jumped down the mine. I didn't have enough ammo. Whatever. It was just ridiculous. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then Issa gets up with that rifle, that boar rifle, and just fucking shoots that monster, and then she just fucking knocks herself out.
Yeah, recoil too strong.
Yeah, this is a massive recoil there.
There are parts of this area that I want to like as well. Like the idea of what you find Issa's sister's grave here, I believe. Right? I'm pretty certain you do when you're doing the death ritual puzzle. Issa's sister's grave. There's an Itoy grave here.
Yeah, where you place the incense, right?
Yeah, it's where you place the incense. You find like some really interesting revelations and stuff. I just wish they weren't in this area because I fucking hate this area.
Yeah, I think there are some neat things this area does. Like, what is it? The Ital grave where you have to put the incense.
And the ring puzzle.
The ring puzzle, yeah. So actually, I want to talk about the ring puzzle a bit because I don't know if it plays like how much it has to say on the game, but it stuck with me for whatever reason. Like just the riddle it has going, I really like how they have it set up, and you put all the rings on the fingers.
Definitely.
And then like seeing like the Empress, like it's almost like a chapel, right? Like the way it's set up. The moment you like take away like, or the moment she like opens up her hand away from her face, there's just nothing, and it looks like stuff is bleeding out from it. Like almost like an identity's been stolen from this person of whoever.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
The identity being stolen, definitely. Like becoming the monarch, going through that history has sort of broken and ripped the identity away from this person. You know, that's a cool thought. I liked it solely just because of like, I'm a big fan of like dead gods being approached by like mortals, and that's sort of how I felt about this. Like you're approaching the corpse of this empress who had, you know, this huge bioresonance power. She brought everything, forged the world, and now she's nothing but a shriveled corpse that still can exude this much power. Like that's just a cool image to me. I liked it for less philosophical reasons, more just
Yeah.
I think I found some notes in this section. I can't remember exactly where I wrote this from, but in my notes I wrote like a couple segments that stuck with me in terms of the lore. I said the room with the silhouette in the basin, which I think is the grave, and a journal called The Dreamer. This room unsettled me more, especially with the music that was playing in the room. The dreamer reads, deep below, the dreamer floats in a sea of flesh. Red Eye brings new world from dream for eternity, and a dreamer turns in sleep. The world turns over too until only flesh remains. Don't know. Like I think it's like a horror thing that goes on.
Or whose diary? That's Alina's 4th diary, I think.
It might be Lena's Force Drive, but it was called the Dreamer. It's right next to where you place the incense, like the Etau grave, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I've got the Signalis wiki open right now. The lore documents, like that's someone referencing the flesh can be found in the Dreamer's diary, where they state, "I was a worker in the mines of Ling. When I was consumed by a shapeless mass of flesh, my flesh joining with the flesh of many others, until only my bones
I remember
remained.
that. Yeah.
My
Oh,
mind
one that
joined a
comes
collective
later
of flesh
on.
Yeah.
which persists beyond death." Right?
Yeah.
Right.
That was crazy.
So, you've got the idea of becoming, almost physically becoming a gestalt more than the sum of its parts. Like all these people becoming this giant consciousness, and the bones being remained. You could say that's what makes up the painting. The skulls and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I was reading that, I was actually thinking of like the virus that was going on.
Oh well. Yeah.
Where like
Have
they
we
all
even
like
touched on the
kind of
virus?
formed together. Not really.
Felix, go take it away. Let's go.
No, that was all I was.
No, well, you. I don't know. Me personally, I've never really given the virus that much thought, other than just like video game needs enemies, right? And like these things are perpetually in pain and can't die and are going crazy because of the pain. Like that's essentially it. Anybody got any ideas about what it could mean? Like the virus?
Well, let's think about it this way. It's interesting, like back in the med bay, they quickly established that gestalts died from this stuff, but replicants didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is the commentary that can be taken any way, but the way I'm thinking about it in this current moment is that, gestalts, they're like their original autonomous person. The oppressive nature like of this virus, like, it overwhelms them. They get silenced. But then replicants, they're mass produced. They're automatons of the Yusan nation. They're not really their own person in a way, if you kind of think of it that way. I mean, they have the capacity to, but at the end of the day, they're based off somebody else, so I don't think they can really be silenced. And so I think that's kind of why like they're stuck around, because like even without the virus infecting them, replicants have been known to deteriorate in their own way. I think this is just a case of like the mind is gone, the body is gone. What's left of a person when you like whittle them down?
That's interesting. I wouldn't say they deteriorate. At least replicants, they deteriorate is a strong word, because that's what they say in the logs in the nation, right? They say they deteriorate if you expose them to this and that. When in reality, it's them gaining back pieces of themselves. Like playing music for an Elster unit, will cause the Elster unit to, get memories, and that's how Ariane and Elster fell in love a little bit, sharing art and stuff like that. But the Yusan Nation would classify that as deterioration.
The wording they use is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. But it's just, it makes you wonder, like, you've already, like, stripped apart, like, certain aspects of a person, and you've slapped them together into this, like, husk of, like, machine and, like, flesh. Like, how much of it is really a person, and how much is it, like, not? It's just, I don't know.
I'm of the
I
mind
mean, like,
that
I think
replicants are fully people, like, and sentient. I don't think the game works if you view them as anything but that. At least for me, and the way that I did it.
Right.
One thing that I remember reading about, like a little bit later, is like it talked about where you're like you should just give up rather than trying to like consume the replicants. Like if you consume them, you like die or something. So they're not like fully humans, if that makes sense.
Yeah, obviously they're not physically.
Like
they repair themselves with repair gel, right? If they get their fucking ribs and arms blown off, they can just slap some, like you see Elster do that,
like a random
slap
one,
some gel on there and then slap another chest piece and they're good to go, right?
But
I'm talking like in I guess in a spiritual or in conscious sense.
Definitely.
These things are human, or like
for sure.
But
Yeah,
they do.
But they're also kind of stripped of that by the empire,
by the nation they live in. Yeah,
exactly.
it's just it's also fascinating, especially with like the virus like that goes around. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think definitely it's more of a video gamey thing, but I think there can also be something like
no,
like
there's
almost
definitely
like
something to it.
corroding away at something. But what it is, I can't place my finger on it.
Yeah, it could
Yeah.
just be as simple as like the idea that I don't know. I'm spitballing here because again, I took it as just a way to have video game enemies, but could be as simple as like the idea of a corroding identity, either under the state or under, if we're talking later, under the mini loops that Elster is causing in this with the bioresonance. It's the dream failing, I guess, and everyone in the dream suffering because of her. You know, it's
Oh,
not
that's true. It
necessarily
could
a
be
real virus, but it's more the idea of memories converging and collapsing in on itself, creating like false identities and false memories. Nothing coming together as it should. A derealization sort of process.
right. For sure. It's just also fascinating.
It is.
Let's see here. This is the first segment in the game where we get a lot of the other plates. Like we've already got the plate of eternity, but I wrote here you get the plate of love from the incense puzzle, the plate of balance from the dolls, plate of sack from the wire room, knowledge from the rings, and I think there's one more in there. Either way, you gather all these up and you put them into like this like gate that like opens up at some point. I think. Do you think like these like plates are like what do they mean? Are they like what goes into making a person or like some kind of identity?
I don't know.
Yep.
I think if we're trying to think of being in the dream, right? Which is I hate to be getting ahead of ourselves, but if this is the dream, which is the real world influenced by the dream, or it's just purely a dream, whatever you want to believe, are these plates? And this is always what struck me. Are they native to this dream, or are they inserted by a wider bioresonant force? You know, like I really love the idea of the mind, of these being like from the mind, these being natural, these being from the center of this world. Because what's really at the center of this world is Rodfront. You know, if we go straight down throughout the entire world, we end in the memory of Rodfront. I mean, I suppose ultimately Penrose, but like, if this is a trip to memory or to Elster's memory, which kind of represents her becoming the person Elster is based on, or at least getting those memories, then I do think that this is kind of what she needs, not to become human per se, but to, I don't know, to
fulfill her promise.
Yeah, to fulfill her promise, to become the Elster that she was with Ariane, I suppose. To like be able to experience love.
I think that I like that take a lot.
Definitely. Yeah. That's awesome.
I think that's exactly it. Yeah. It's hard to say exactly it with this game because I feel like they could say you were a squid the whole time dreaming in the Mariana Trench, and there'd be evidence for it, and you'd be like, oh,
yeah,
well, that makes sense.
There's just so many layers to this game. It's absolutely crazy. Like
like I could be told that this is like fan fiction for Kirby's Epic Yarn, and I would believe it. You know.
Okay, real quick, I just remembered something before we leave Nowhere. This part made me laugh from my first playthrough because I was reminiscing with Felix about this before Dan and Joel hopped on. You know, Isa passes out, and you know you're given this bottle, not sure what to do with it for a while. On my first playthrough, I didn't realize that's what you use to wake her up. So I never got the rifle. And I had all this rifle ammo. I'm like, where's the rifle?
You know what they say? Keep going. Go.
No. I was just gonna say, like, I went through this area twice, and I still didn't pick up the rifle. I only realized that, like, I didn't have the rifle, and like, I figured out what the bottle was used for right before, right during the final boss fight. I was like, maybe you're supposed to use this and get the rifle or something, and yeah, that was
I didn't have the
Very,
rifle either.
very enjoyable.
It's funny too because I was talking with Dan about it at the end of my first playthrough. I'm like, what? Like, how did I get the rifle? What was the bottle for? He's like, oh, you use that to wake up Isa. Jokes on him though. I actually figured out that the flare gun was used for grenades, and he did not figure that out.
I
never
did
used
figure that out as well. That
I had
was
so
cool.
many grenades, and I was like, when am I getting a fucking grenade launcher? And I was very disappointed.
Just the
Which
little
made me
things you can
also
miss.
so mad at the enemy spam because I was just down a weapon. I had the rifle and you guys didn't, so I don't know.
Yeah.
The rifle is good, but the grenade launcher is very useful against crowd control.
Yeah.
Especially the shield enemies.
Real
My
quick,
God,
let's do a
so
tier
annoying.
list for the Signalis weapons, guys. Let's be
Tier list?
for a second.
S
Tier
tier,
list.
let me pick shotgun, easy peasy, the GOAT
Agreed.
weapon.
Really?
You get
Best
some
weapon.
ammo for it. You can
Yeah,
like one
that's
tap
true.
basic enemies, two tap like higher tier enemies. It's so good.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd
But
say
you have to time it.
I give A
You do
tier to
have to time.
Revolver.
revolver's
Definitely,
pretty
I love
goated.
the
It's good for
Revolver.
bosses.
It's
Yeah.
really good.
I'd say S tier to the flare gun flares, just because like
It's fun.
I feel like
You
that
also
scene in
don't have to
Indiana
finish them.
Jones. That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that
That's
scene in
really-
Indiana
really
Jones
nice.
where there's like the guy who does the elaborate sword tricks, and you just pull out the gun and shoot. I
Yeah.
feel like that. Just like bam, you're dead. The SMG, I feel like I know it comes in
F
after
tier.
the fake out
Dog
ending.
shit. I hate it.
Yeah, it's not that
Stupid,
great.
stupid useless weapon.
Yeah.
It's worse than the
Basic
pistol, honestly.
where we put it. Pistol, I mean, it has to be like high B, low A tier.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree, definitely.
I mean, the
Yeah.
pistol's like all reliable. It's like it's the first weapon you gotta deal with. So like, it serves its function. You know, they can't just give you like the rifle off the bat. It serves its place. I'd say the grenade launcher. I'd put at like maybe a low A or high B tier, just because like, if you're not careful with that thing, you're gonna blow yourself up.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the weapons are pretty good all around in this game. I'd say like some more fun than others, but definitely like the power scaling is like, you know, the rifle's goated, but there's so limited ammo you can't just pop shots with it like the
Yeah.
pistol.
Did you guys
yeah.
know? Fun fact. If you use the debug menu in Signalis, you can get access to a secret 7th weapon. A
What?
machete.
The debug menu?
Doesn't
Yeah.
know
How do you
that.
get
A machete?
Wait, what?
Yeah, you can get a machete. It's a cut weapon.
What? That's so cool.
That's pretty
Yeah.
badass.
Wait, how
It's,
do you?
I
Wait.
think it got cut for being too unbalanced. Like it was.
Ah.
It's genuinely like no ammunition.
RE
You deal 10 damage. You know, like and you have a melee option.
That's. I feel like there should be some sort of melee weapon because I was just.
there was the
quite
taser.
Yeah,
taser,
but
I
those
love-
run out so quickly as well. Like I feel like I'm
Well,
running
that's the
out
point
like
of them.
I'm quite often just like stuck without
Yeah.
any sort of way to deal any damage.
Melee
at
is
all.
meant to be a punishment to the player in this game, I believe.
Yeah.
So
I think so. Otherwise, you end up with the RE4 knife.
the RE4 knife is goated. I love that. I love the way RE4 plays, but it's definitely not as scary as or tense as Signalis. It becomes an action game, and I didn't think they want to make an action game.
Right. But yeah, so I think for the most part that's nowhere. To kind of wrap up a bit, we get to the fake out ending. We finally made it. We've gone all this way, and we make it to an ending.
Yes, indeed.
The ending.
Yep.
This is it. Woo!
This is
This
the
is
ending,
it.
guys.
End of podcast.
This is it.
Woo!
In Felix's words, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
I
done.
was, yeah.
So to set the stage for what happens, you finally open up the gate from all the plates, and you approach the gates from the beginning of the game, and the pillar is surrounded by a sea of red. Adler tells you it is impossible to move on with a knife in his eye. I have been here so many times, but I have never returned. What waits beyond the threshold? Something in German flashes across the screen. I didn't catch it in time, but then you're walking beyond the gate where there's an emptiness, and then bam, the Isle of the Dead flashes. Something tells you to come closer past your corpses, and you get to the Penrose, and then there's Alina Seo. Also, there's like a JoJo Requiem sequence where you're like turning around, and I think it's Alina. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's the girl who
That's actually
you know,
not JoJo's. That is Evangelion.
Evangelion. I'm sorry, I saw JoJo
Yeah.
before Evangelion.
No,
My
but
mind went to JoJo.
So I've got a Steam guide up here where they're telling me the cutscenes, dialogues. So you've got stuff like it starts off with Cycle Nue, which is a creature in Japanese folklore. Also, is one of Megumi's Shikigami in Jujutsu Kaisen. So that's cool. Then the German text is at the end, the way home, I'm waiting. Then you've got a Chinese character that means hollow, false, worthless, vain, imaginary. Then hab kein Angst, which is have no fear. Then why are you here with warum bist du er? Sorry, don't speak German. Then there's the surname for Alanacio. Then there's Magpie, which is the same kernel in the OS system that's used throughout the game. Then there's Japanese.
Right.
Then there's to remember to recall. Then oath, pledge, vow, and then I, you, we, I, she, we. In the cutscene.
Okay, yeah. And then there's also the parts where it's like, what is it? You see the eye and the Tesseract and memories. And then, of course, there's like the most iconic scene in this game. The part where you get on top of the Penrose and your arm breaks off and you fall back.
That's Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell for sure. But like, I feel like the scene, like this game also prides on that scene quite a bit.
Oh no, yeah, it's part of the whole replication idea, right? And it's where we go back to instead of the sort of amateurish Silent Hill parody level of nowhere, we get back to like the really intelligent professional use of references here, where it feels entirely its own thing, but you can see before it's a preservation of culture without understanding what it is before. It's a loop, a spiral. It's genius. I love it so much.
Definitely.
I love the scene a lot too. Yeah, and then I think also the Isle of the Dead, I think, also flashes, right, but like with the red gate, like the red gate from the beginning, or like what we just saw on the Isle of the Dead, and then like your eyes fade with no life in them, and then you're brought back to the menu.
Yes, and then you're done with the game.
That's it, guys.
You're finished.
The way that you can tell that you're supposed to continue with the game as well is that the light has left Elster's eyes in the menu. Like
you see,
dead.
I noticed that, but then I also was like, well, it's the loading screen. It must be done, right? But yes, that was a mistake. Yeah.
Luckily, you had some.
Continue.
Luckily, you had some help to know to continue.
Definitely, yeah. That was very helpful.
I wonder how many people have like said, "All right, that's it, that's the game," and then like close Signalis forever.
I'm gonna be real. I did think the game was kind of over there because, like, I don't know, it felt very final. It felt like a gut punch nihilist ending, and like, I play indie games. I'd believe it. There are some indie games that just end like straight up, especially indie horror games where they just like final scare. It's a dick move. It's over.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'll replay it. I clicked new game, and then it hit me with the loop, and I was like, oh, this is so exciting. There's more game.
Dude,
I wish I continued like that instead of just stopping and not saving. But I enjoyed going back through nowhere. That was very fun.
Oh yeah.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, and any final thoughts so far?
Final thoughts?
On the game up to nowhere. Or up through nowhere.
Up through the fake out ending.
Yeah. Very good. You should play it.
Very fun.
No, it's hard to conclude on anything because we haven't gotten to what I would consider the emotional core of the experience, which will happen right here.
Right here, right now.
Right, yeah.
This is
definitely
We're done. right now. But next time, next
episode, which hopefully won't take a month. It'll take 2.
Oh. No, please.
Nah, we'll have it done. Hopefully,
we'll have it done. I'll get the editing done very soon for this, and we'll get a quick turnaround for the final episode. But yeah, unless there's any final thoughts, I think that's all we've got so far, right?
Anybody want to plug anything? Our special guest, do you guys want to plug anything? Shout anything out?
Daniel?
I mean, you already know how it is. Go subscribe to the Dan Chan Dude on YouTube. Best channel in the business. But that's about it. No, I got nothing else to plug.
Yeah,
Felix,
me neither.
Anything you want to shout out?
I'm alright.
Overwatch 2, 6v6 mode. Thank God.
Huh?
What?
They're bringing 6v6. Thank Christ.
In Overwatch?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
I gotta tell my girlfriend about this.
Go watch Overwatch then, I guess.
Let's go Overwatch.
I hate Blizzard. You guys want to have a podcast on how much I hate Blizzard?
I'm down. I'm fucking down. I don't even know anything about Blizzard games. I'll just hate on them for the sake of it.
Company. I hate Blizzard.
Not as bad as EA.
We can do a double feature. We can do Blizzard
and
Nintendo.
Not as bad as EA though. EA is so much worse.
Oh, EA is so scummy.
It's so bad.
At least EA is kind of honest about it. I hate Blizzard because they had the gamer messiah reputation for so long. Oh, we're so good, gamers love us. I can hate them. I'm realizing that I'm as I get older, I'm anti-gamer. I think it's bad.
It's the nihilism in you,
dude. I love games, but anybody who calls themselves a gamer. You and me, we got beef, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Wait, can I flex on you guys real quick?
Yeah,
I did not even have to look up how to do the whatever it's called, the puzzle with the satellites. Or
you and me both, baby. Let's go.
You can.
That's fine. That's fine. You're a gamer. I get it.
I guess. Oh yeah, gamer derogatory.
But I feel
that's you.
I don't know. They might have changed it because they added a very clear explanation.
What puzzle are you talking about? Because
the one where you have to aim the antenna
in Rod Front.
Oh, I don't know if I have to look that one up. The only one that I
have to use the radio.
Shit.
You know what? A lot easier this time around. I will say.
I can just replay it and see if I have to look it up or not, and then I can get back to you. If it'll come flooding back to me, I'll just be oh wait, I did have to look this up.
I did actually have to look up one right in the same area though. It's the butterfly one. Do you guys remember that one?
Yeah.
Where they hit the letters to the combination in the wings of the butterflies.
I didn't think that one was
I forgot
hard.
about that one.
It wasn't hard at all, but I just did not see it. So I was like, how the fuck am I supposed to do this fucking combination?
Yeah. Anyway.
And I was just impatient as well. I was like, okay, I'm done with this.
That's fair. The end is in sight, yeah. But we'll get to that next episode.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, do you want to hit us with an outro?
Sure, I'll try my best. Dear listener, thank you so much for listening to this second episode. We hope to come out with the third episode real soon. We're having a lot of fun making this podcast, and I do appreciate all the support you've given us from the first episode. Stay tuned for more, and that's it. Hope we don't keep you up all night too.